There's a moment many men experience after enough failed relationships where they finally realize something painful. The woman they were chasing never actually brought them peace. She brought stimulation. And there's a difference. Most men don't understand that difference until the relationship completely drains them emotionally. At first, it feels exciting. The chemistry is intense. The conversations feel electric. The attraction feels overwhelming. You think, this must mean we're deeply compatible. But then slowly something changes. You stop sleeping peacefully. You start overthinking simple messages. Your mood becomes dependent on her behavior. One good interaction gives you emotional highs. One distant reply ruins your entire day. And without realizing it, your nervous system becomes trapped inside emotional instability. What's dangerous is that modern dating culture teaches men to mistake this emotional roller coaster for passion. But emotionally mature men eventually learn something life-changing. Chaos is not chemistry. Anxiety is not connection. And attraction alone is one of the worst ways to choose a partner. Because the truth is, many men don't choose women consciously. They choose from loneliness, validation hunger, fantasy, emotional wounds, fear of being alone. And by the time they finally recognize the red flags, they're already emotionally attached. That's why this conversation matters. Because most emotionally unstable relationships reveal themselves extremely early, usually within the first 3 dates. The problem? Most men are too distracted by attraction to notice. So in this video, we're going to break down the 3-date test emotionally grounded men unconsciously use, the subtle signs emotionally mature women reveal early, why your nervous system notices danger before your mind does, and how discernment protects a man's peace, purpose, and future. Because once a man stops dating from emotional hunger, his entire life changes. A man once told me something after a brutal breakup that stayed with me for years. He said, "The signs were there from the beginning. I just kept explaining them away." That sentence describes millions of men, because deep down most men notice the instability early, the inconsistency, the emotional tension, the subtle manipulation, the unpredictable energy. Their intuition sees it. But attraction clouds discernment. Maybe you've experienced this yourself. You meet someone and instantly feel pulled toward them. The attraction is powerful. You start imagining the future after one conversation. You project depth onto chemistry. And suddenly, you're emotionally invested in someone you barely know. Meanwhile, your body quietly starts sending warnings. You feel anxious waiting for texts. Your chest tightens after interactions. You overanalyze conversations. You feel emotionally exhausted after seeing them. You begin craving reassurance, but because intensity feels exciting, you ignore the signals. This is where many men lose themselves, because emotionally unstable dynamics often feel intoxicating at first. The unpredictability creates dopamine spikes. The inconsistency creates obsession, and obsession can feel very similar to attraction. But emotionally mature men eventually realize something that changes dating forever. Peace is the green flag, not emotional chaos. And the first date reveals far more than most men realize. Not because you're trying to judge someone harshly, but because early interactions expose emotional patterns before attachment blinds you. Now, here's where most men focus on the wrong things. They focus on beauty, sexual tension, charisma, shared hobbies, and surface compatibility. But grounded masculine discernment asks a deeper question. How does my nervous system feel around this person? That question filters out chaos immediately, because emotionally mature women feel different. Not boring, not emotionless, grounded. You notice it in subtle ways. You don't feel pressure to impress constantly. Conversation flows naturally. Silence doesn't feel threatening. You leave interactions feeling calmer instead of overstimulated. That matters because your body often detects emotional instability long before your mind consciously understands it. Now, the second date reveals something even deeper: emotional regulation. Because anyone can behave well temporarily, but small inconveniences expose nervous system patterns quickly. Watch carefully. The restaurant gets something wrong. Plans shift unexpectedly. Traffic creates stress. Something mildly frustrating happens. Now observe. Does she become reactive, passive aggressive, disrespectful towards staff, emotionally chaotic over small problems? Or does she remain grounded? This matters far more than most men realize because small moments predict larger patterns. A person who emotionally collapses under tiny inconveniences will often struggle deeply with conflict, stress, uncertainty, pressure, and emotional intimacy. And this is where many men accidentally invite chaos into their lives. Not because they didn't see the signs, but because they ignored them. Now, the third date is where truth becomes much harder to hide. By this point, people relax more. The performance begins fading. Patterns emerge naturally. And one of the most important things to observe is emotional responsibility. Can she communicate directly? Can she express emotions without creating emotional chaos? Can she acknowledge misunderstandings maturely? Can she apologize without turning herself into the victim? These qualities matter more than attraction long term. Because emotionally mature women communicate with clarity, they do not constantly create confusion to maintain attention. They do not weaponize silence. They do not create emotional games to feel powerful. And perhaps most importantly, they bring stability instead of emotional turbulence. Now, instead of asking, "Am I obsessed with her?" the grounded man asks, "Can I maintain peace around her?" That question alone protects years of suffering, because attraction alone is not wisdom. Discernment is wisdom, and discernment protects a man's future. Now, here's something important many men need to hear. The goal is not perfection. Everyone has wounds, everyone has insecurities, everyone is healing something. The question is, does this person take responsibility for their healing? That changes everything. Because relationships do not fail simply because people have pain. Relationships fail when people avoid accountability. And emotionally mature women stand apart very quickly in this area. They reflect, communicate, repair, take ownership, remain emotionally open without becoming emotionally destructive. That energy feels radically different from chaos. And once a man experiences genuine emotional peace, he stops romanticizing dysfunction. He no longer feels addicted to mixed signals, love bombing, constant uncertainty, emotional highs and lows, or toxic chemistry, because his nervous system finally remembers what safety feels like. That's the transformation many men experience after enough heartbreak and self-awareness. They stop choosing from loneliness. They stop choosing from fantasy. They stop choosing from emotional starvation and start choosing from alignment. That is masculine maturity. Not becoming cold, not becoming emotionally unavailable, becoming discerning. And discernment changes everything. Now a man notices whether his peace disappears around someone, whether anxiety enters his body early, whether overthinking becomes constant, whether emotional instability begins appearing immediately. And instead of overriding those signals, he listens. That's sovereignty. And ironically, that grounded masculine awareness naturally attracts healthier women too, because emotionally mature women are not searching for emotional chaos. They are searching for presence, safety, clarity, consistency, and grounded masculine energy. Men who embody those qualities create completely different relationship dynamics. So, brother, if you've ignored red flags before, if you've mistaken anxiety for attraction, if you've chosen fantasy over reality, if you've stayed too long trying to save emotionally unstable relationships, let this be the moment your standards evolve. Stop choosing with loneliness. Stop choosing with emotional hunger. Stop choosing with fantasy. Choose with awareness. Choose with nervous system wisdom. Choose with self-respect. Because the first 3 dates reveal far more than most men realize, and the men who learn emotional discernment early protect not only their relationships, but their peace, their purpose, their mental clarity, their nervous system, and ultimately their future. Now let's clarify something modern culture completely misunderstands. Healthy masculine leadership is not domination. It's grounded direction, calm presence under pressure, emotional steadiness, decision-making, integrity. An emotionally mature feminine energy naturally relaxes around grounded masculine structure because it creates safety. But emotionally chaotic dynamics resist stability completely. That's when relationships become filled with testing, power struggles, mind games, constant tension, boundary violations, and emotional exhaustion. And tragically, many men mistake this instability for passion because wounded nervous systems often become addicted to intensity. But healthy love feels different, cleaner, calmer, safer. And ironically, many people initially interpret healthy connection as boring because peace feels unfamiliar to a dysregulated nervous system. That realization changes dating completely. If this message resonated with you, subscribe, chop wood, carry water, and let's keep the fire burning.